So we're continuing with the master data for sales and distribution, and we said that we have either a centralized or a decentralized credit control area. And these are the responsible for determining what kind of credit should each customer get. What did we say? What should be the case? Should we have different credit control areas? Should we have the same? When do you decide to go with one or many? Credit management. We said that if we are operating in different countries, then it is better, especially if the countries do not have the same policies or anything, then you would go under decentralized. If the countries like all exist in very close proximity, like for example Mexico, the US, and Canada, then because you have customers from all three countries, and they almost deal with the same economic conditions, then you would have one centralized credit control area. So remember, the credit control is to determine how much credit should you give the customer. Credit meaning when will they pay? Can they pay over right away? There is no credit. 30 days, that means they have 1 month. Sometimes it is 60 days, sometimes it is 90 days, sometimes it is 6 months. So you have a period of 6 months to pay your balance. Now we are going to start with the process itself. Those of you who have done the exercise know what is the process. So you have a pre-sale activity. And that's when the customer have not yet committed to anything. So there is an inquiry at that stage, there is a quotation. They inquire, you respond with a quotation. Why in the exercise, Noura, Wanof, Noura, why did we change the price in the quotation?
The price,
why not in the inquiry? Inquiry is data incoming. It's not outgoing. The quotation is outgoing. الquotation هي معلومات طالعة برا الشركة رايحة للcustomer, right? You want them to pay, to actually convert the quotation into a purchase order. It makes no sense to put a discount on the inquiry. لأن الانquiry هو بيكلمك ويقول لك أنا عايزة كذا كذا. And you are putting it into the system, so someone would create the quotation and send it to the customer. There is no information going to the customer from the inquiry. يعني inquiry دي information جاية من بره جوه الشركة. Quotation from the company to the customer. And that's when you would put the quotation. You would put the discount. مفيش discount لما بعمل الانquiry. There is no way that you would put a discount on the inquiry. Time. So we have the inquiry, we have the quotation. That's what we call pre-sale activity. مفيش سيل لغايه دلوقتي ما بعناش حاجه. ده هو بيسال واحنا بنرد بالquotation and we are trying to give them a discount to promote the purchase. Yeah. If they commit, then you will copy what? Copy the inquiry or copy the quotation into a purchase order. Copy the quotation, because on the quotation, is it binding to you? Is the quotation binding?
yes.
Yes, it is, because you say it is binding for a specific number of days. It may be for 1 month. You're saying, I'm going to give you the discount, but only for 1 month. Yeah. The quotation is binding for the vendor, but it is not binding for the customer. When the customer sends us a purchase order, the purchase order is binding, but not before. It is binding for the vendor for the duration specified on the quotation. So usually they would say it is valid for that amount of time. Okay. So we copy the purchase order into, and we copy the quotation into a sales order. And that's the start of the sale. Then we said we have three. As soon as you create the sales order, the amount is reserved for the customer. When you start the shipping, as you can see, there are 3 bullets under shipping. So, what are the 3 things? Anyone remember? ايه هما الثلاث حاجات that I do when I start the shipping?
Check package.
Packaging is the second, but before that there is بعمل ايه في الانفنتوري؟ لا تشيك ايه، انا خلاص عملت السيلز اوردر. ده كان في السيلز اوردر. I did not create the sales order until I check inventory. لأن if I don't have inventory, then I will have to create production. I will have to start production. So shipping has 3 things. The first one is release. Approval to release the goods out of inventory. The second is to pick them and package them. The third is actually the shipping. So in the exercise, what is it that you click on that will mean I am shipping? The outbound delivery هي 3 حاجات مع بعض. آخر step في outbound delivery is the shipping. What do we do? What do we click on? And I told you when you click on it, it will create the invoice automatically. Post goods issue. There is no invoice before the post goods issue. So as soon as we ship and we click on post goods issue, that's when we have the billing. The invoice is created, and the last step is you wait until you receive the payment. What are the accounts that are affected? What accounts are affected? Accounts receivable, inventory, cost of goods sold. So here are the documents that are created. You have a transaction document. What are the transaction documents that are created? Huh? Five? Yeah, it doesn't matter which. I'm just asking the name. What? So if you see that thing, that slide, and you see transaction document, what comes into your mind? Invoice is a financial document. It's an FI document. Material to go. يعني ايه اللي انت بتقوليه يا سيدة؟
يعني من واقع لمنتجات.
طب انا هنا ببيع حاجه ببيع للعميل. ايه هي الترانزاكشنز؟ ايه هي الخطوات اللي بقى؟ ايه هي الدوكيومنتس اللي هتبقى كرييتد علشان من اجل البيع؟ ها؟ كاستمر؟ لا، كاستمر is a master data. It's not a transaction data. مش احنا قلنا ان احنا عندنا 2 kinds of data, temporary and persistent. والpersistent ده continue to exist inside of the system, منها الكاستمر. transaction يا أمي. transaction. I have to say it. The quotation is a transaction document. The inquiry is a transaction document. The sales order is a transaction document. كل دول transaction documents. Quotation, sales, and inquiry. Transaction هي العملية اللي هي business transaction, right? طيب ايه اللي حصل عشان اعمل البيزنس transaction؟ I got an inquiry, or I'm sending a quotation, or I'm converting the quotation into a sales order.
It's go when you sell.
Yeah. So material documents, what will be affected? Or what kind of material documents will be affected? Inventory inside of the material that I'm selling. Its inventory will be affected. Its cost of goods sold will be affected. Control documents. انتوا لسه ما خدتوش الكنترول. But financial documents, the payment and the invoice. Yeah. So here in the GBI, they have a customer in Denver. They want to sell him 40 silver deluxe touring bike, 100 T-shirts, and each one has its own delivery. So you can create a sales order with the following information. So if in the pre-sale activity, I'm not yet committed, I'm going to create the customer if he or she is a new customer. I'm going to create an inquiry if they are inquiring about something. I'm going to create the quotation, and I can also agree on a contract. So you can have a contract agreement. In the contract agreement, you are saying you are fixing the price. You're saying, I'm going to sell to you for this whole year these prices. I'm going to deliver every month, every 2 months, whatever the delivery you agree on. So what triggers the pre-sale? That you have a customer inquiry. What kind of data are affected? The organizational data, the master data, and the user input. Tell me, now you should be able to tell right away what organizational data will be affected. Why do we have here organizational data? لا مش under data. So I got a customer inquiry. To respond to it, we say we have to look at the organizational data, we have to look at the master data, and we have to look at the user input, whatever information the user is giving us. Why do I need the organizational data? أنا بشرح لنفسي النهارده؟
To know more about the customer.
لا ها No, what exactly about the customer?
Selling to the account.
لا ده under the master data. لأن ال customer exists under the master data.
يعني where is the customer?
Geographic location of the customer will determine
The master data. Will determine the organization.
what kind of organizational data. احنا لما اتكلم ما هو دي عشان كده انتوا ما بتعرفوش تجاوبوا على الاسئله.
The company code.
الكومباني كود ده at the highest level. تحتيها في ايه؟ ما انا اوريدي ما دام الكاستمر بيكلمني. لا لسه الشيبنج ما جاتش هنا. I have a sales organization. I have a distribution channel. And I have what else? What's the division? What's the division? So depending upon the product the customer wants, that will determine the division. Depending upon his or her geographical location, that will determine the sales organization. And depending on whether they want to buy wholesale or retail, that will depend the distribution channel. يبقى هي دي sales organization دي. عشان ما حدش يقول لي لا انت الاسئله بتيجي صعبه احنا ما بنعرفش نفكر كده. We are doing it actually in class. So if you decide this is not important information, it's up to you. But I will ask you these kind of questions. So the organizational data is determined based on the geographic location of the customer, the type of product that the customer wants to buy, and whether they want to buy wholesale or retail. The master data. What are the two master data that will be affected or needs to be looked up or created? Master data دلوقتي ايه؟ A customer is calling wanting to buy a particular material. What master data will be affected?
Account.
Is account a master data? Customer. So if the customer doesn't exist, I will create the customer. Define the different views for the customer. What else? The material. And depending, if the customer wants wholesale, then the material view wholesale will be picked up. How about the user input? That should be easy. What kind of user input am I getting? Phone address, يعني customer information, which we already said that we will pick it up in the master data. And the quantity that he wants, the delivery time that he wants for the material. So as a result, you will create the quotation, and if this is an extended agreement, يعني هو مش عايز بس يشتري النهارده، عايز يشتري for the whole year. That's why we create an agreement. We outline the agreement. We will say we will deliver every month, and this is the price that you will be liable to until the end of the year or the end of the agreement. So if it's a one-time, you don't create an agreement. If it is an extended sale, then you create an agreement. The outcome بقى ان انا عندي quotation, I have a contract with the customer, fixing the price and determining the delivery dates, and the last thing is the scheduling agreement. When will I deliver? How often will I deliver? So all of these information goes into the quotation. Of course, the client, the company code, the sales area. When you see sales area, what are the three things that come into your mind? Sales organization, division, distribution channel. يعني هي دي الorganization thing. Okay? شايفة حتى عشان ما حدش يقول أنا ما شفتهاش. The box is titled organizational data. حقيقي هو كاتب لك sales area, but they already told you the sales area consists of three things. It is the distribution channel, it is the division, it is the sales organization. Sales organization determine the geographic location. The distribution channel is whether wholesale or retail or internet. Division, the particular product that you want to buy. Then, of course, we have the customer master, and we have the material master, and we have the customer material information record. What is this? Remember what I said? Well, here it says the conditions, but it is actually a combination of two things. The customer and the product that they order. The same like the purchasing information record. We said the purchasing information record was the vendor and the material that they sell. هنا بقى the customer and the material that they order. Conditions is any discount that you are going to give them, whether they will pay shipping or you will give them free shipping. So what are the documents that I use in order to create the quotation? Of course, the customer inquiry. Can anyone tell me what are these? طب والagreement برضو it's very obvious. If I have a previous agreement, I'm going to use the agreement to create my quotation. How come these are here? Why are these reference to the quotation? We haven't yet created the sales order. The customer inquired and I created a quotation. هنا بيقول لك references يعني documents that you can use to create the quotation is an inquiry. واحنا قلنا okay. Or you have already an agreement and this is okay. How about the two in the middle?
It can be
Huh?
ممكن
It's a previous sales order. They bought from us before. And instead of re-entering the information, you just take a previous sales order and copy it into a quotation. Or a previous quotation and you copy it into this quotation. فلما بيجي وانت بتعملي الاكسرسايز in SAP and it's telling you want to create a quotation with reference to a document, يعني انت عايزه تريفير لدوكيمنت ثانيه، ترجعي لمرجع ثاني، ممكن يكون اي حاجه من الحاجات دي. ممكن في الاكسرسايز اللي انتوا عملتوه كانت كاستمر انكوايري، بس انا ممكن يكون عندي اجريمنت معاه، او ممكن يكون عندي بريفيوس كوتيشن. اي ما تكتبي رقم الكوتيشن هيجيبها لك، تكتبي له كوبي الثاني. نيجي بقى للسيلز اوردر. How do we create the sales order? We can never create the sales because this is binding for the customer. We can never create the sales order until we receive a purchase order. لأن الانquiry والquotation are not binding for the customer. احنا قلنا الquotation is not binding for the customer. It is only binding for the vendor for the period specified. يبقى الكاستمر ده علشان تبقى حاجه بايندينج لازم يبعت لي هو purchase order. If they send the purchase order. And again, you need the organizational data, you need the method, the same things that we talked about. But here we add the input, the user input, and any contract. If we have a contract, we have to copy it on the sales order. While I am creating the sales order, احنا قلنا بنشيك على ايه؟ مش قلنا بنشيك على 3 things؟ ها؟ ايه ال3 حاجات اللي احنا بنشيك عليهم؟ We check on inventory. عندنا inventory enough or not? Whether we can deliver at that specified time ولا لا. ايه التالتة بقى؟ اهي هو بيقول لك هنا perform ايه؟ Credit history. You have to check the credit history of the customer. So at this point you can cancel the sales order, reject it. ليه؟ لأنه he did not pay many of the previous balances. يعني I cannot commit to the customer if the customer has an outstanding balance. So I have to check the customer credit before I can commit and create a sales order. See, آخر حاجة step outcome. You cannot create the sales order unless you have already checked the credit history of the customer. And then you do the availability check. I check inventory. And that's when you will decide, do I have to create a production order? Can I buy from outside and then resell to the customer? You determine the delivery schedule and the requirement transfer. We will talk about it with the production. Sometimes you want to sell for a customer here in Doha, but you don't have any inventory. So you transfer من دبي لهنا, and then you sell to your customer. So this requires a transfer order. They are requirement transfer. Okay, but we will talk, I mean, the students who will present production will talk about that. We have already talked about all of that. We said we need the customer and the material data. We need the delivery time, when we will deliver, what quantity will we deliver, the pricing conditions, what kind of discount, the shipping information, who will pay for shipping, billing information, how you will bill the customer, and so on. I'm going to stop right here.